Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Dan. I'm a PGY4 interventional radiology resident and one of the Match Pal advisors. Today, I'm going to be interviewing a rock star MS4 student who's going to be sharing with us her entire residency application journey from MS3 to the end of interview season. She's going to talk about the pearls and pitfalls that she encountered along the way, how working with the Match Pal advisor helped fill the gaps that she faced during medical school, and how we ended up helping her land over 15 interviews for her dream specialty. So, if this is the type of content you like, hit that subscribe button, stay tuned for the interview, and we can't wait to share more of these success stories with you come match day. We are so excited here to be with a phenomenal MS4, soon-to-be pediatrician, Nikki. Thank you so much for joining us. We're just going to be chatting a little bit more about your journey and applying to residency, what that was like, and a couple of highlights about working with the team. So take us back to the beginning of MS3. Tell us about the moment that for choosing the specialty that you ended up applying for, what that was, and then what was in your mind going into third year, if you can go back and, kind of remember?
Yeah, so definitely with peds, I would say kind of went even farther back than that. I kind of had going in just because with my background, family kind of in medicine, especially peds. So really kind of was introduced early on, but then going to MS3, I was like, okay, I really want to make sure my peds. So I kind of had it towards the end of my MS3 just because I wanted to give the other specialties my full attention, really try to make sure, I wasn't too biased. But by the end, I kind of knew I was like, this is my population. So I was really excited and I got to rotate actually in some of the more specialty services. So that was really neat. And then I was able to do more electives in the general outpatient as well as some sub-Is in peds. So with that, taking on ownership of my patients just really solidified me to being a pediatrician. And I'm so excited now being on the other side. So I'm very excited.
Amazing. So you're set on peds. And I guess you probably weren't necessarily thinking about ERAS just yet when you're in early MS3, but maybe you're thinking about away rotations, probably thinking about shelf exam step 2, all the classic things that we think about at that time of year during med school. How comfortable were you navigating that process at that time with the information that you had from school, with the information that you had available to you?
Yeah, so I definitely felt like my school did their best to really keep us updated of what's going on, but it was kind of hard just because I felt like definitely going into clinicals MS3, you're really on your own timeline at this point just because everyone is doing their own specialty, and at my school we're all at different course sides, so it's even a smaller pool of people you're interacting with and all of that, while during pre-clinicals, everyone was in the same building going to lectures together.
Right.
So I definitely felt like I was navigating a lot of it. And then I remember I follow a lot of Instagram influencers that are also med students. So I saw someone use you guys. So I was like, maybe that would be nice to have someone, there with me, really personalized to really help navigate, especially if they've been through the process just the previous year. Just because I was trying to focus on all my COMLEX exams, and then with level 2, I knew I had to make sure to get that going, and that was also another story that I can definitely talk about later. But yeah, just all of those exams, I knew I had to start getting ready of again applying for residency, just for med school, and I'm gotta write all this stuff, pull back experiences that I'm creating on these rotations. So yeah, definitely it was a lot to juggle, and I kind of knew I needed help as I was going through year 3. So I was yeah, I needed someone to help me on the journey.
Right, totally fair. And I think some schools do it better than others, but I think fundamentally it's just very hard to get personalized support for the whole process, no matter what school you go to. I think there's just not enough resources out there from the school side to do that, and I think that's kind of where we do our best to step in and really champion your whole process from start to finish. So you reached out, you got set up with one of our peds advisors, Dr. Thomas, rockstar, and tell us about that kind of first session or the first kind of couple of interactions that you had. What was the major kind of takeaways? Was there what did you learn? What did you guys work on? And kind of paint the picture for the foundation that you guys set up.
Yeah, so I was definitely nervous just because I feel like it was just a whole nother chapter that I'm going through, and I want to make sure I can do everything on my side, on my end, to make sure I can give myself the best shot going through the process. So Dr. Thomas was really great. He really made sure to kind of cover, okay, these are kind of the deadlines, the dates that we're thinking about, and kind of help me with my schedule of when I'm taking and when I want to work on my personal statement and have experiences, like really think, and even like letters of rec, like how to go about like asking my preceptors and, making sure like, having enough of my peds, and also if I wanted to use my other preceptors who would be a good fit. And he really helped like even look at some of them to make sure that like my emails were good and that I was like saying all the right things. But he really just helped to break the ice, because I think I was just nervous, just like kind of like tackling all of this to make sure like, could I even do this like in the amount of time we had. But he was really great, and from then on, like I just felt very comfortable, and like I knew I had someone on my side and I can get through this.
That's amazing. That's definitely our goal, and I'm very happy that you felt supported along the whole way. There's a lot of things to keep track of, and it's just easier when you have like a timeline and you have someone that you can ask all those questions that come up about communicating with different, whether it's mentors or letter writers or, research mentors, clinical preceptors, like all these types of individuals. They kind of have different styles of correspondence, different things that you need to ask at different times as well, making sure that your timing is correct. And of course, putting together the application, right? Which I'm sure you guys did. You guys worked through the personal statement and ERAS. What was the editing process for a personal statement and ERAS like?
Yeah, so definitely, and I'll kind of like preface this. So with my journey, I did hit a road bump of my level 2. I'm okay now sharing since I'm on the other side, but I did fail. So Anvin was really great working with me on my schedule, just because I had to retake a little later in the cycle. But he was like, okay, you'll be able to focus on that, but let's, September is ERAS, so let's get through all the stuff. And he was really great working with my schedule. We went through I think 7 to 8 edits of my personal statement, and sometimes I was like, I don't even know what to keep writing about. But Anvin was really great to make sure to take what I had and really make it shine and polish. And I was even surprised, wow, he took this little thing of my experience and made it really cool, that I was like, oh my god, I'm so excited to read about this. And then even just working through the application, really making sure that I did everything I could to give myself as many chances as I could, program wise. So again, it was just really grateful. He was so receptive, and even day or night, he was always a text away, and he was so responsive. So again, just really grateful of how easy the process was, and having someone there to really be there to really check everything. So that's why when I was able to submit the day before ERAS and make sure everything was in there, I felt very comfortable and just ready for all those invites to come in.
Amazing. Yeah. So, listen, not an insignificant hurdle to have to go through. It's definitely tough when you deal with a board exam failure or a clerkship failure and any sort of quote unquote red flag. It makes the process not only more challenging from a statistical perspective, right? But it's an emotional thing, right? Now you're thinking about this, what's going to happen? Am I still going to have a good interview cycle? Am I going to match? I'm sure all these questions were probably percolating in your head, and to kind of power through all of that, and even more so the importance now of having someone who is really going to be there to help you shine in creating that narrative and helping you write about how you overcame this roadblock and how you are now better for it, and just positioning you in the best possible way. It sounds like, I feel like that is just an immense value to this whole process. So I was going to say, with all that being said, you worked really hard, you retook the exam, you obviously put together as strong of an application as you possibly could have. Before you tell us the overall, how many interviews you got and how your interview season went, you said you felt, regardless of all that, you still felt really good going into the application season because of the application that you put together.
Yes, definitely. And Anvin was really great in saying that with my board exam, I've done everything well up to that point, so it's just a little bump in the road. So I just put on my best self with the application and see where it goes, and we go from there. And he was right. After that point, I started getting the invites, and I was actually starting to believe him, because he was my biggest cheerleader. That was the thing I was so grateful. He really kept myself motivated, even when I fell down, how am I going to do this with my sub-Is as well. But he was like, you got this, you have everything in you, so just keep going. And that was the thing to really help me. And now with that, I was finally able to believe him when I started seeing the results.
That's amazing. Yeah, tell us, how many interviews did you end up going on, and tell us about the distribution of interviews for places that you really wanted to go to, places that maybe were middle of the road, or safety programs. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so in total I was able to do 15 interviews, and I did all of them. So it was definitely along the board with my board stuff. I kind of knew I had to apply everywhere. So I got some programs that I was really excited about, because I am from Florida, so I did want some programs back home, but also I knew I would be able to travel anywhere, so I did get some in the Northeast and back over like on the other side of the coast. So anyway, like October was when I think peds, we had like a universal date that kind of came out. So it started slowly, and I was on a sub-I too. So a lot of other med students, we were kind of in the same boat, like, oh my goodness, like, you know, are we going to get the interviews now? Should we wait after rounding? Like, it was kind of also fun to kind of go through that experience together. But it did start a little slow, I would say. So it did kind of get me, but was like, you know, just give it some time. Programs are still kind of going through. And, you know, just really, you know, kept myself, you know, very motivated. So I think I got most of my invites by like November and got a few in like December. And I was also doing interviews at the time. So
that's amazing though. I mean, I think 15 interviews after having a board exam failure for any specialty is remarkably impressive. It clearly means that your application still stood out in many other ways to compensate for that. So whatever you guys did, you did a phenomenal job. And you clearly deserve it. Tell us about your process of preparing for interviews. Like, how did you feel? What were those sessions like? And then how did you feel doing the actual thing?
Yeah, so definitely when that came in, Alvin was like, all right, so you got the interview, so now we got to prepare. And I was like, okay. So it just felt like another, like, all right, next in the cycle. So, but he was really great. Like he had like this running document of like interview questions to like go for and help prepare myself, and just some really good tips as well. And then we even tried like practicing as well. And I felt just very comfortable at that point. But he even said like, you know, you can have a script, but really you wanted to make sure that it's very authentic, because, you know, at this point program directors and interviewers know like when things are memorized and others seem more genuine. So by then I felt like after with my board failure, I just got so confident in myself that, like, you know, a lot of these programs saw me with that failure and took a chance on me. So I was like, I will take a chance on them, be my authentic self. And I think just going in with all of that, I felt really great. And then, you know, it goes to show that I was like, you know, I can do this. Again, Anvin just provided so many tips and tricks. I think at that point he was like, you got this. Like, I think after you can do anything. So I was like, I believe you. I think too.
I love that. I love that. So I guess if you had to go back and thinking about like an MS3 in your shoes, maybe they had a board exam failure, or maybe they're just anxious about this process. They're thinking about where to go to, you know, what to do. Is there one piece of advice that you could give them that you now know being on the other side of it all? What would it be?
MatchPal, all the way, 100%. I am so glad I took the chance, because I did do the package that like was like $1,000 plus with everything included. And I was like, it's a lot of money, but looking back on it, I used it, I feel like, enough that like the price was worth it. And I think it's just because having someone personable like within your specialty and to help you is just something I don't think med schools, you know, obviously cannot, you know, give to each of their students, unfortunately. But I think it still helped in the end, just because like I feel like also at this time, like I said before, everyone's on their own journey, and some, you know, are more transparent about it than others. So just having someone that you can confide like 100% in and be totally honest, I think was really helpful in the process. So I feel like that's what helped me in my success. And again, going back, I would 100% do this again.
Amazing. We'd love to hear that. Well, we are so excited to see where you end up in just a few weeks now. And we know you're going to crush it. And we really hope that you're going to match your number one. We're rooting for you. And you made it this far, so it's literally only up from here. You're going to be an awesome resident. And yeah, we just thank you so much for your time.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
This video is presented to you by MatchPal, a resident-run advising and mentorship platform. If you're interested in working one-on-one with a resident mentor in your future specialty on ERAS, interview prep, personal statement editing, signal token strategy, or USMLE and COMLEX tutoring, visit us at matchpalmedical.com.